Hello, everyone. Happy Thursday. It is a different day than what we normally stream, but we picked a different day because we had an amazing opportunity to have my friend Alexander on, who has a wonderful example. We all have our stories about following the energy and ending up where we're supposed to go. It's happened to me. It's happened to Dr. K. Alexander has a little bit more of a elaborate one where he really had to kind of trust what he was getting and put him in some very interesting things. And I guess Alexander and Dr. K have already met once at a sound healing event that I
Mhm.
did, and then a couple times through Messenger. So very good. But why don't you start by just giving us a little bit about yourself, how you got on the healing path, or whatever you want to share, whatever you think. If people only watch this 1 minute, like what would you want them most to know in this 1 minute about you? And I will also put your website in the comments.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Hank and Dr. K, just for having me on. I'm just really grateful. And I've seen you guys been doing this for quite a while now. And the fact that you guys show up and just be consistent with it, that's really amazing. So bless you for being of service.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And if I had 1 minute just to describe what
Well,
has happened to me.
well, it
um,
doesn't have to be 1 minute, but like if it just the abbreviated version, what's the most important thing
mhm.
for people to know about you, and you can go
Yeah,
with that.
absolutely. I mean, basically all started when I got Crohn's disease back in like 2014, 2015, and absolutely changed my life. I lost a bunch of weight. I couldn't process food. I was depressed. I thought I was going to have this forever, and I was in a relationship at the time where, I was not faithful. I was lying and cheating and just making these all poor decisions and smoking too much. And then, after she broke up with me and basically had a spiritual awakening in Scotland where my dreams and my sleep were coming true in this reality. So I was experiencing deja vu. And then I was having it every single day for the past 6 years of my life. And then in 2019, I went to Alabama for a music festival, ended up healing a woman with a ball of energy who was having a drug overdose, and then healed her from a ball of energy just intuitively. Then became a Reiki master. And then that's when I met Pilar like 4 months later. And then I ended up meeting you a few
Oh,
months later.
that's right. I totally forgot about Pilar.
Yeah, that's how
This
we
is a
met.
lady from Lilydale, and okay, I thought it was through
Hmm.
Access. Honestly, I forgot the Pilar element.
Yeah, Pilar was the whole key to this. And and then I, started to, become an energy healer, Reiki, and then met Reiki master, and then just really wanted to help people. And it took me a little bit to really embody this and really put myself out there because I really was worried about what people were going to think about me and how I was really going to show up being this. I didn't know how it was going to work, but I just kept trusting and doing all these things, listening to energy and following synchronicities. And now I'm here in Austin, Texas, and I'm doing the things that I love to do. And things have a way of working out, even when you least expect it, or when you think nothing's going to happen, or it seems like it's all falling apart. So,
Yep, I could relate to that.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah,
yeah.
and Dr. K. Now I realize that maybe I don't know Dr. K's early because I didn't realize the whole like your the Crohn's disease part of your story. Dr. K, I know you were in the medical field and everything. Did you like have origins way prior to that too, like an awakening of what you wanted to follow
Not
and
quite in
do?
that respect. It's been a little bit different of a journey. I didn't have a, well, I kind of did. After residency, I had a lot of stomach problems, and those went
Mm.
away with the healing. And that's how I started a lot of my healing journey. So, yeah.
Well
And
done.
I guess mine is also like a condition related because I was a raging alcoholic. And then I completely ran up against the wall, and it was just like, you either need to change your ways or you're gonna die. And that was simple prayer. God help me. And the next day, I started to literally. I didn't have much choice. I followed the energy, and that brought me here. So we all have had little things where there was something that the body might have been saying, "Hey, you need to, you need to redirect here." And that's probably a big key for people that are watching today to follow your soul path. Is your body is one of the biggest tools, and how many of us have had to really taken a look at like getting in tune with the body because we had neglected like that relationship with the body, and that getting right with that is a huge key, because the degree that you have worked on your body is like the quality and caliber of your detector of your device that you're pulling in all these inputs from.
Yeah, absolutely. It's we when we live so much in our upper chakras, like we talk a lot, we probably think a lot, and then we totally forget about the love, our confidence, our emotions and feelings, and then being grounded in all of that. You know, it's just not something we're taught.
Yeah. And everybody watching too, like if you have questions or comments or things specifically, let us know. We're happy to direct the conversation wherever we want to go. But the reason why you came to mind, Alexander, for talking about following your soul path is just recently, and you can tell the story in way more detail, like your whole South America journey. Like, how did you go from, hey, I'm just going to go on a vacation type of thing, to my whole life looks different now?
Um, yeah, that story is really amazing. So I remember when it was basically 2021, and I I was I was being a teacher, guidance counselor, and I was like, I just had these feelings of like, wow, like partying and just smoking all the time and being around like this group of people was just no longer serving me. So I was actually at my friend Renee's house. I think you've met her, Renee Roth,
Yeah,
and
I have.
okay, and she was having a cacao ceremony at her house, and she knew I was looking for a new place, and she's like, "Hey, my buddy Jim is probably gonna be looking for a new roommate." So I talked with him for like 5 minutes. He's like, "Hey, if you want to come see my house, you can come over." I said, "Okay." So I ended up driving him home. He lives in Beechwood, and I got in the driveway, and I had this feeling of like, Jim, I don't even have to see your house. I know I'm gonna move in, and I'll move in like 2 or 3 weeks. I'm literally in the driveway, and I say that, and then literally 3 weeks later, I move in. I leave my old friends behind, all the smoking and drama and anything, and I was like, okay, cool. I'm gonna stay here for like 6 months to a year, and then figure things out. And then 2 months later, he says, "Hey, I'm gonna sell the house." And I was like, "Oh my God, this is okay. This is crazy." And this was like, kind of during COVID. So I was like, okay, I guess I got to move into my parents' house, but I don't really want to do that. And then my dad's like, well, you didn't get the you know what, so you can't move back in. And I was like, oh my God. So then I wasn't moving back into the old place with all the smoking and drinking and stuff. And then I was like, wow, I don't have a job. I don't have a place to go. I'm about to be homeless. This is crazy. And I remember I said this affirmation that I kind of got it from Abraham Hicks and put my own spin on it. And I just kept praying every day, multiple times a day, even going on like long 3 to 4 mile walks at night during like 20 to 30-degree weather in Cleveland, Ohio. And I just said, I trust in the unknowns that the universe puts in front of me are for my best and highest good. I said that religiously, verbatim, every day.
What was it? One more time. I trust the unknowns.
That the universe puts in front of me are for my best and highest good.
Okay.
And then I remember I was at a full moon party ceremony with a bunch of friends in Sugar and Falls, and my one friend's like, "Hey, look at this retreat house place in Costa Rica. Like, I really want to host retreats here." And we're like, "Oh, cool! Like, you should totally do that." And like, we see you doing it, and not thinking anything of it, right? Then I was at a Halloween party in Independence, Ohio. So Sugar and Falls and Independence, kind of, like 20, 30 minutes apart. And I remember going back to my car to like put some cannabis away to just the smoke. And then I remember I looked at this car, this truck, and it had 888s on it. And I was like, oh, abundance. Okay, cool, let's go. But then something told me to go look at the front of this pickup truck. So I look at the front, and then it had a Costa Rican license plate on it. And I was like, synchronicities. And, it's been a big part of my journey since 2019. And I was like, there's just no way. And I like literally like started laughing. I called my friend. I was like, Michelle, I think I'm supposed to go to Costa Rica. Like, and then I started hearing about Costa Rica. I kept seeing it in like all these different places. And then another woman, I think Dana Chasen. I met her at this party for like a fundraiser for the UCAN UL Foundation, and I had a conversation about it with her, and she's like, I'm getting the call that you're supposed to go way sooner than what you think you're supposed to do. And then January 3rd, I picked up, put all my things at my parents' house, and I just left for Costa Rica for 2 months.
Curious, when you saw the license plate, what does that feel like for people who want to start doing what you were doing and like following the energy, noticing the license plate, walking around to the front of the car? What does that feel like? How do you experience that sensation of that push or that drive to go do that?
It's a feeling that you get where you're not even like, it feels like you're not even thinking. You're just like in this zone, like in a flow state, and you have curiosity, and then you also have like some excitement with it. You're not like questioning it, being analytical, or trying to be logical about it. You're just having like curiosity and just joy with it, just wanting to know like, oh, what's on the other side. Like, I don't know what made me think about to go to the other side. I just had this thought and it sounded cool to me, so I just took 10 extra steps just to see what else was possible, and then it happened.
One tool, if people start getting in their analytical minds, when we were at fellowship, so the spirit learning, mediumship and things, one of the tricks they had to get out of your head is to say, I don't know why I'm saying this to you, but, and like the word but linguistically negates everything prior to that point. So like if you ever get like an intuitive hit and you start getting in your mind, be like, I don't know why I'm going to do that, but I'm going to do it anyway. And just like feed the mind your little statement that you can, so it can go to rest and then follow the energy.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And it was just fun. And then like when I saw it, like I got like this burst of excitement, like this joy, and it just felt like peace. But like calmness, but like energized, but not like jittery like coffee or anxiety like coffee. It was like bliss.
Very cool. And I think you even came to me for, I don't know if it was for that or for the Texas thing, but I think I've done a couple tarot spreads for you regarding it too, from time to time.
It was definitely regarding Texas.
Okay, that was it. Okay, well, I don't want to get ahead of the story. So anyway, you end up just going to Costa Rica on a whim.
Yeah,
not having a job and not knowing where you were going to go after Costa Rica.
I had no idea what I was going to do after Costa Rica. All I knew was I had to go to Puerto Viejo, Costa Rica, and I stayed there for about 3.5 weeks. And like I had fun, but a part of me was like, okay, like I'm enjoying life, but like, what else am I supposed to be doing? Like why else am I here? But when I was in Puerto Viejo, I started seeing Texas a lot. I started seeing like the Longhorn symbol. I met a few people from Texas, and then I was like, okay, there's no coincidences here. Like Texas and Costa Rica, like obviously 2 different countries, other things are happening, and I'm just like, okay, I don't know how Texas fits into all this, but I'm just going to make this happen eventually. But the one thing that really got me into like coaching was actually, I met a guy in Costa Rica. He was born and raised in Mayfield Heights, Ohio. And I met
what are the
him.
Chances?
I know, right? And we grew up 5 minutes down the road from each other, and we're actually like best friends now.
Wow.
We still talk to this day. It's astounding, really. Um, and then I remember actually the first night I got into Costa Rica, I had this intuitive hit saying, "You're supposed to go to Peru." And I was like, man, I just got to Costa Rica. Now you're telling me to go to Peru? Like, can I just chill and just relax? you know? And and I even asked the universe, I was like, okay, angels, guides, if I'm supposed to go to Peru, then I want to see Peru on someone's t-shirt, like very specific. And probably about 2.5 weeks later, I was at a retreat in Costa Rica, and we just got like out of the water, we're drying off, and this woman next to me, she has her back turned to me. She puts a t-shirt on, and it literally says Peru on the back of her t-shirt. And I was like, wow, now I'm supposed to go to Peru. So then after Costa Rica, I ended up going to Peru for about 3.5 weeks. And that was a pretty crazy journey on itself. I'd go to Machu Picchu. Um, that is the most powerful energetic vortex I've ever stepped foot in. I literally had to close myself off because the energy was too strong. And like I had to like take a break for like 5 minutes just to like recalibrate and figure out like what I was supposed to do. Um, so yeah, but I just, I really just got out of my own way, and I just kept feeling. And was I scared? Yeah. Oh, I was petrified, not knowing the unknowns, but I kept following it, and like just the little bits of excitement and just like a passion and just wanting to like know more about what it is that's happening, because I've never felt like about this in like ways of life, but I've had synchronicities happen before, but not to like and on different levels of like synchronicities of like Alabama, when I had the um, intuitive healing for that woman with the drug overdose. I kept seeing Alabama everywhere before I even got there. And like I'm in South Euclid, Cleveland, Ohio. Like, why would people see Alabama a lot? Like it's just when you can really step into like this power and into like this energy, and you can just trust it without even really seeing the path, you start to level up in all these different ways, and things just somehow, some way, miraculously work out.
This question to both of you, to get to the point, because you clearly you had your awakening and everything, and you became a Reiki master, you did all these things. Like, what along the way has helped to get away the debris that would block or taint or distort those inspirations? Because people, a lot of times, they will get their intuitive hits, but they don't have the trust. And some of that is just because they have other stuff in there that might lead them astray. And so, how do you start to trust the stuff that's really from source and let go of the things that are ego or just floating around in the energy field that haven't been healed yet?
Oof. You want to go first, Dr. K?
That's him stalling.
Putting me on the spot. That's, something I'm really studying now.
Mm-hmm.
How to create the bridge for people. It's very easy to say affirmations. It's very easy to get these intuitive hits, but there's all this stuff in between. The bridge is not formed. I think it's really just like when you learn to ride your bike, you have training wheels. You have to say something, do something repetitively till the energy shifts. Really focusing on just, even the whole topic of manifestation. It's, there's a lot of people out there, just script and just, there's a lot of gurus out there, just say I am. The mind, when it's too crowded with degree, will not accept the I am statement. So it will negate it and say, no, you're not, no, you're not, no, you're not. Mm-hmm. So you can't create the energy. So you have to formulate things that are believable. And I think that creating the believability bridge somehow, some way, and that's going to be different from believability bridge.
Believability bridge. Well, no, because like there's a manifestation tool where they say, okay, well, how does it feel to have $1? How does it feel to have $2? And you keep doubling it, keep increasing it, and at some point you get to the point where like 20,000, whoa, like I can't even fathom, and that's your limit of believability. And so like believability bridge, whether it's money or something else, like where is your threshold of belief and work within that and take baby steps, because it doesn't do you any good to manifest $1 million if your belief system can't even fathom it. So
Right.
like, where is that believability bridge? And then finding that. And one affirmation, this was one of Alexander's, was this that little affirmation: I trust the unknowns that the universe puts in front of me are for my best and highest good. And like, and you start working with an affirmation of within your realm of believability. That I love that.
Correct.
You
I
know
love
me in
that.
alliteration. You know me in
Absolutely.
alliteration. That's like extra awesome.
You have to, it's going to be different for each person. So
Hmm.
when I work with somebody, it's just, you got to find and understand and create something that is believable. Or really, I've really been studying a lot of Dr. Joe Murphy's work, and it's just understanding that source is your supply. There is nothing, we get so down into the 3D that we forget where we came from. And I know that's
Hmm.
lofty, but the source is your supply. Whatever your religion is, you're Buddhist, you're Catholic, God is your supply, universe is your supply. So where do you think you came from? I mean, the principality of every religion is that you came from somewhere. So that is your supply. And if you can start to coax your brain into believing something different and then repeating that over and over, then you will create the energy. For some people, it's very easy. For Alex, it's just, it's just, yeah, you followed it very quickly. But majority of humans are like, well, I don't have the money to go to Costa Rica. I can't, forget it. I don't have cash for that. I'm not going to do that. And then the whole thing stops. So they get the intuitive hit, or they don't get it at all because they don't know how to do it, or too much analytics come in. And then so we got
Yeah.
to break apart the analytics, because then you will stop the process. Not everybody is as trusting, because we have the debris, we have the
Hmm.
conditioning. So please feel free to elaborate on how did you say to yourself, you said you didn't have a job. I don't have a job. What most people would say. I don't have a job. Forget it. I can't get on that plane. That ticket costs $500. I'm
Yeah.
not going to do it.
The one of the crazy thing was like I'm actually pretty good with money. So like I was able to save a lot, and it was also a point like where I wasn't drinking. So like, even when I was going out drinking with my friends, like I never had to pay any money, and I just like kind of stopped it. And I always had like a really great source of income somehow, but like at that time, like where I didn't really have a full-time job, or just things were slowing down, and I knew my life was changing, and I could just feel like the depression, and just like change has to happen. I don't know what it is, but like I prayed so much from like 2017, like after the breakup, until like 2018, 19, and then like just like, God, I'm sorry. Like I know I did this. I did you wrong. I did my ex-girlfriend wrong, and just I just kept like surrendering. It's like I don't know what I'm supposed to do, but like I trust in you. Just have me, whatever I'm supposed to do. And I just like kept following that as much as I could, and then eventually I think God took me seriously and was just like, "Yo, let's make some stuff happen. How how serious are you?" And go ahead.
No, continue on.
And eventually I just said, I don't really have anything to lose. I'm pretty free right now, and I can I'm young. I can do this now. And I'm so lost in life. I'm almost willing to try anything at this point to help me. And I but like, was it easy being in Costa Rica and Peru? No. But I have fun, yeah. But there was times I'm like, what am I doing here? I don't know why I'm here yet. I'm here. There's great food, great people, great fruits and drinks and stuff to do. But I'm like, I kind of want to find my soul's purpose. Like, where's this leading me to? And eventually, even when I thought I had like nothing else going for me and I felt super stuck, there was just something that would happen. It was just like, hey, call your friend Sean. He's going to help you on this next part of your journey. Okay. So I call my friend Sean from Costa Rica, and he brings out, my new friend Chris. Just like, hey, you should meet this guy. And I was like, okay. So when you get out of your own way, you can fully surrender just to the possibilities of You know, like how you say it, Hank, like what else is possible in a realm filled with infinite possibilities? How much can you trust? How much can you put your love and faith into something higher than you to guide you into something bigger and better? Sometimes not always bigger and better. Sometimes it's got to break you down. It's got to mend you and bend you and shape you and twist you and, like, you know, rinse you out and, you know, completely cleanse you out into something even better, more strong, more structure, more faith, more desire, more inspiration, just to get you feeling excited about the surprises in life, kind of like the innocence of a child, you know? Like, they're not really worried about anything. They're just doing their thing. They're in their own world. And the universe would like to put you back into a space like that, just on more of a deeper, grown up level.
Yeah. And the Instagram, we did have someone ask, like, how do you break apart the analytics, and that they're always in their head. And we already talked a little bit about the affirmation and things of that nature, but I think it's also about staying in the action, staying in the choice. Because if you're in the head and you're always thinking if I shoulda, coulda, woulda, whatever, then you never actually end up making a choice that mobilizes you to move in a direction. And so it's like they call it analysis paralysis. Just choose.
Yeah.
And that's what you
Yeah.
did. You just started choosing, and you didn't think, well, sometimes you thought about it because you're like, I'm really crazy
Oh,
for even
yeah.
thinking about this.
Oh
But
my
at the end of
God.
the day, you
Yeah.
start making the choices. And that's like to get out of the head. It's like if you're in the action, that's the thing, like to get over the hump of the analysis paralysis and take the action. And even if it's a quote unquote bad choice, you have more data points now. You definitely can learn that's not for me. I'm going to go choose something else. But in the choice comes the greatest awareness and information through that experience for you to choose again.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Dr. K.
Analysis paralysis is a doozy, and I will tell you guys, I suffer from analysis paralysis. It's just my analytical mind. It gets there, but I've learned a lot of tools now to really it's all about the nervous system too. If you've had traumas, the nervous system drives your feelings. So if you can, there's ways to get around these things, and I'm really researching that now, because there's always been that bridge of like, well, you do the I am statements, but my brain says no, I'm not, and then so how do you get there? Not everybody. For people like us that suffer from analysis paralysis, it is you get that intuitive head, or you want to do something, but the repelling energy is so strong that, like what you did, Alex, is like, I wish I could do that. I will fully admit I would have fought that tooth and nail, and like, no, how am I gonna go? I'm not going to Costa Rica. I'm doing, even though Costa Rica's on my bucket list, by the way. It's like, but there's too much for a majority of humans. I think there's too much of the other stuff that's going to get in the way, and then you never take the action. You really have to learn to relax the nervous system, get into a relaxed state where it's almost a state now, and I'm starting to master it, where you're at complete peace, you're at complete calm to make that decision versus the fear, the anxiety, the anger, the frustration. If you can get those out of the way, it's much easier to start walking that believability bridge. You start walking it. And that's the key. If you can start walking it, and each step, it's okay, I haven't fallen off yet. And you just do it. It's almost like a state of surrender, knowing that the universe will catch you. You will not die. The chances of you dying or really going homeless or whatever are very low. Your bank account may not be big, or stuff might happen, but there's always a different choice. And if you can really surrender to following the energy, then the other choice will be presented. But it's really a state of like, if you're thinking of a feeling, it's just like, okay. And there's just nothingness. It's a feeling of nothingness. There's no fear, there's no anxiety. It's like, but majority of time the brain gets in there and you pull up the shrinking feeling of fear, and all this stuff happens. So yeah, I think really I want to work on helping myself and others start walking that bridge, because it's not always easy. It's not always easy.
I just attended this charity awareness dinner for because I said I should. And the founder of that charity had talked about how when we had the steam engine revolution, we went from like having like something that took us 2 days now takes 2 hours, and we got soft. Like now we had to invent gyms and exercise because the body needs resistance, and so we need that. And just the same way we need that for our body, maybe we need that for our emotional body and our spiritual body and the things that our soul yearns to experience. It has to have that resistance, that fear, feeling excited and doing it anyway. Like that's the
Hmm.
resistance for our soul really to get the excitement of what we're looking to choose. And that just kind of parallels what Judy was saying, that there's a lot of fear that stands in the way of allowing us to trust the
Yeah.
signs. And that's the same thing. Like we won't appreciate those signs if we don't have that resistance and that leap of faith. If it was easy, it would just be the way. But like we're developing that trust and that leap of faith that we're doing. And then we also
Absolutely.
had Karen saying it's really cool to get the divine sparks and asking the universe for a sign, and it gives us one, like your Peru shirt. But one thing I want to bring up with that is how many signs do you follow that you never actually have an awareness of, and we're not giving credit to? And
Mm.
so, like, I would just say, like, as cool as it is to have like that big sparkling neon light sign, Peru, I know I'm supposed to go now, like not all signs are sparkly and as in your face, and sometimes it's a subtle thing and you might not even realize that you went a different way on the freeway and you avoided an exit you never had the awareness of. So how much gratitude do we have for ourselves, like actually following signs that we're not giving credit to? There's a whole bunch you are being intuitive about that you're not giving yourself credit for, and it's just now the points to have this resistance that we're paying attention to. So give yourself some credit. All of us have had these
Hmm.
moments where we have followed intuition and it worked out, and it's
Mhm.
just these ones that are pushing us across the bridge that we're noticing.
I think we miss the signs. That's the other piece is majority of people miss the signs because we're not quiet enough. We turn on the TV in the morning. We jump into the coffee in the morning. That's the other whole step of all this. Like, majority of people are asking, I see this a lot. I'm praying for answers. I'm praying for they're not coming. They actually are, but you're missing them because number one, you're in so much fear. Number two, where are you diverting your time rather than really finding time every single day to be in silence? I love sitting in
Mhm.
silence. Majority of people cannot. They have to have the TV on. They got to have the radio on. I drive with no radio always because that's
Yeah.
when I hear. But
Mm-hmm.
majority of people
Or
in
you
their cars, yeah, the radio's
the other
going.
thing is, or where you see the sign and you ignore it. Like I work for the bank,
Yeah, that
and
too.
the stuff that I work for the bank, it was the most stressful thing. And I knew I needed to go, yet I didn't. And I procrastinated and I waited. And I knew I saw the signs I should stop drinking. How long did a lot of times you might see it even, but you're in denial or avoidant or deflecting. And you might as well not have seen it. You're pretending not to have seen it, even though it's where your soul wants to go most. You're like, nope, I'm going to go opposite and choose misery
Yeah,
for a couple more years before I
yeah,
get beat over the head enough. They have
yeah.
this thing like you have to be sick and tired of being sick and tired, and then you're like, all right, God, I'll use some help, and then all of a sudden things start flowing.
And some people don't even know that the signs that they're getting are the signs that are meant to be for them. Like they
Yeah,
could see it and they could just be like, oh, that's a coincidence. Or,
Mm.
aha, cool. Maybe that just happened one time. And then they start seeing it. Sometimes they're just like, okay, this is kind of weird. I'm kind of getting freaked out by this, and then they can get scared by just that alone.
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
like that. Like you could be afraid to know. Like I had a
Mm.
situation once where my aunt had come to me for a healing, and as soon as I started, this was like one of my practice healings for Fellowships of the Spirit when I was in the 2 year program, and I start tuning in, and then I knew I'm like, oh, this isn't good. I had an awareness of a health condition, and I was hoping I was wrong, and I did a healing attunement. There's like a thing in Reiki you can do a healing attunement, gives a little more oomph. And I made the comment to her, I'm like, sometimes we take better care of our stuff than we do ourselves, and maybe it's good to go just get a checkup. And then they found something, and then it prolonged her life quite a bit. But like when you have something like that, like I went through a huge phase. Like I would read for no one that I knew. I didn't want to do healing for anybody I knew. I didn't want to do any of that because I didn't want to know. It was that hard of a thing for me to deal with. And now it's like, okay, if there's something and you find out, it's okay. But at the time, like I was very avoidant of being intuitive, especially around people that were close to me.
That's a good one. Being afraid to know.
Yeah.
We ignore things that we know that is pinching, and the voice will get louder
Mhm.
and louder, but we continue to ignore it till it starts manifesting as a physical symptom. Then you can't ignore it anymore. But being afraid to know, that's a good one.
Yeah, because I want to know all the good stuff, but if I want to open up to the good stuff, guess what? That channel of information, that information is just data. It's not polarized. I polarize it. And if I don't want to get information I'm going to polarize as negative, that means I might be shutting myself off to everything. And so like it's really like be open to everything, but treat everything you become aware of like what your cell phone does with all your phone numbers and stuff. It doesn't judge who's in your contact list. It doesn't judge what websites you go to or how much you text with someone. It's just data. And that's the thing with opening up to that. Look at it as just data. You don't have to polarize it either way, but if you can look at it as just data, now I can open up myself to everything and get a lot more information and start guiding my life a little bit differently than, you know what, I only want to know if it's really good, if these little criteria. And no, there's you really got to be open to it all, otherwise
You do.
yeah. We have someone commenting in Instagram, say it louder, afraid to know. Yeah, so
Yeah.
what would it take for us to shift out of the fear of knowing into excited of knowing? Because if you what would you choose differently if you really had all the awareness? You wouldn't put yourself in situations, right? So like it's really that fear of knowing. It's just like, well, what if I could be excited about that and really use it to make choices for my life? There might be things that we don't prefer to have in our lives, but we can choose better around them if we're willing to know.
Hmm.
Yeah, and that those things may not be pretty. It may mean, you gotta leave a relationship or something but what's on the other side is so much greater. But we don't know that. We don't have the certainty. And I think that certainty is always a thing with people. It's like if you knew if you leave this relationship or this job or whatever it is that you're in, and you know that like 5 months from now you're going to have 10 times more and 10 times better. Well, hell yeah, I'll go. But we don't know that. So
Yeah.
we prefer to not look at it and I'm just going to stay in the comfortable space because we will choose our worst hell over the unknown heaven any day because it's
Yeah.
comfortable.
There's a
When I went, oh, go ahead.
there's a story about I think it's in the Bible. It's called King Joseph. And, he's been through so much crap in his life. He's been in jail a few times and he's been beaten and just, he's been a peasant and poverty. But at the end, he became king. But do you think if God showed him the path when he was, poor and in poverty, like, hey, you're going to go to jail, you're going to, get beaten many times, you're going to get spat on and cussed out and going to be like total trash for years, but then you're going to become king. Do you think he still would have chosen to become king if he knew that he had to go through like a decade or so of just BS?
Probably not.
Probably not,
Yeah.
but God doesn't show us the path because he wants to make sure that we're built for that next thing
Mhm.
in that present moment.
Yeah. And the thing I was going to offer is when I went, sometimes you may choose to know, not know, or choose the opposite of knowing because you have like maybe you stepping into your path means that a relationship that is really important to you has to go away. And I know when I was going into my initiations for a tradition I practice, I knew before I even went, and I almost chose not to go. I knew that if I do this, my life's going to change, and this one relationship that was very significant and important to me, that's going to go away. And I almost didn't choose it, and then I did choose it, and then everything changed, and I'm still going through like a settling period to some degree from that. But like it, I almost didn't choose what I knew was supposed to be for me because of in favor of a codependent thing. And so, like, where in your life, if you aren't choosing for your soul path, where have you empowered something greater than you and your authenticity? Because that's really what the codependency is. I have put my power outside of myself into this other thing. I'm now enmeshed in like and like, what do you need to do to come into alignment so that you can let go of the things that are really not serving of you and your soul? And if you can start letting go of those, it's going to make it easier for you to choose the things that are in line with your soul. Because you might end up walking away from a relationship or something that's really significant, a friendship or anything. And a lot of people value so much that relationship that's not them, that they're not willing to go out and be an individual because they identify too much with a group or with a person or with a group, like a community or and that kind of thing.
And breaking out of those time loops is tough. It is
Time loops.
tough shit.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's not easy. It's not easy. This stuff's not supposed to be easy, guys, but when you do, you just know, like, I knew I had the voice to close my office. I'm like, what? Close my office? What do you mean? I did, and I'm still like just going through it, but yeah, sometimes you hang out for a while, we think things are going to happen instantaneously, and it doesn't always, because it's rebuilding to something else. So yeah.
And sometimes the universe will put some things in front of you to be like, hey, do you really want to go down this path? It's going to be kind of similar to what you just were at, or something that rhymes, and then you kind of go through it, and it's just like, oh, it's a little bit better, it's a little bit different too, but also kind of mostly the same. But do we actually make things, or I should take that back, but do we really see it? Like, do we see it for this newness, or something that's kind of just bringing us back and still kind of keeping us in that comfort zone?
Right. And the opportunities like that, where it's something similar, that could just be, I now have the power to not choose that. I have empowered myself enough where I'm not going to choose that familiar feeling relationship. And it gives you that opportunity to steer clear. And that, or is it to, I get, this is a little bit of a tangent of it, like how sometimes you heal from something and then all of a sudden it's back in your life. Well, maybe there's new depths of healing, or maybe it's because you're helping someone that's going through a similar thing. It's not always it's not always a similar thing for just not choosing it or avoiding it. Maybe there's healing involved. You can offer something to that person, then move on. I don't know. It's very multifaceted. Judy's off saying that she's feeling a little bit of fear right now. What's that about? I don't know. We're not doing readings on this.
we're scaring people.
Yeah, we're scaring
oh my
people.
goodness.
But it's like when you're talking about true intuition and things like that, and what might that challenge in your life, that's like giving up drinking. I didn't want to do that. I kind of had to do that. It was like do or die time. And it's like, but there's things that we have, that we might really value, and things would just be looking very different. And that's not a wrongness. Or it could be admitting something about yourself. Like, you know what? There's this thing about me that I'm not really proud of, that I got to admit. And it doesn't have to be a big thing. It could be like an internal reflection thing about fear, because we are our only thing blocking us. So what's that fear really about? It's us like putting up a resistance to know something more deeply about ourselves. And if you were to allow yourself to know that thing, what would you be able to choose differently? Or maybe choose the same thing, but now it's from a different place and a different space. That's another thing. It's like not always about the choice. It's about the energy that you're holding when you make the choice that you make. And those little awarenesses and deeper dives into ones other than conscious allow it to be a much more elevated place and space when you're choosing something. So it could be the same choice, but a different elevation of being.
Yeah, that plays a huge role, because then that also shifts timelines into which, like, you can pick bigger and better and higher ones, or ones that are at least most aligned to you for your best and highest good.
Ooh, we could do a whole thing on timelines, man. Time loops and
Oh
timelines.
my, collapsing timelines.
Yeah, and we'll mess with people. We'll pre-record part of it. We'll just play it on a loop, and they'll be like, "Wait, what's happening here?"
After we just said it was so hard to break time loops, now we're just going to create one.
Right. Well, and that's patterning, and when people choose the same thing over and over again, part of it's because it's familiar and you know how to navigate it. But really, like, how could you elevate and illuminate and just shift that experience? And even if you raise it 1 degree, you have this upward spiral possibility. You just have to want it more than you don't, and then you just keep choosing. And even if you are going to choose the same thing, like I had a thing where it was like a similar pattern, but each time I went through like this one pattern, it was like an elevation of how it ended or whatnot, and like each time was a little bit lighter and lighter until finally what I term escape velocity. When you're in some sort of pattern, you keep choosing it until you get to a point where you have enough stuff that you can break orbit and you achieve escape velocity, and now you can have a whole new trajectory, a whole different thing. But until you have that, sometimes you are just stuck in that. So like if you feel like you're stuck in a loop, ask yourself, what do I need to have in my life or choose to create the escape velocity to have a completely different reality? And
Wow.
sit with that question and see what might come of that if
Some
people are
people
having troubles. Yeah.
some people may be very petrified
Yeah, it's like I'm in a whole new
to
star
go through
system, man.
that one.
It is scary, but it's also
Hmm.
exciting. And how much change would you like going through AA? They would always say, like, how free do you want to be? You have a resistance to doing something. Do you want to go back to drinking? How free would you like to be? And that would bring you to the point where, well, I'm going to humble myself and I'm going to choose this hard thing and work through it because I do want to be free. And if I don't decide to look at that as shadow aspect of myself, I can't be, because otherwise I'm going to possibly drink again, and I can't do that. I know where that door leads. I was one step away from my liver shutting down, so like I can't choose that. That is death. I'm going to go ahead and humble myself and do the hard work. Yeah, we have
Yeah.
someone on Instagram saying thank you, definitely received it. Very good.
Secrets are something that's coming up to me. Keeping secrets, keeping things locked up that are, you want to tell somebody something, or but there's nobody to tell because you might be judged. Find somebody that's a safe space, because when you release that energy, you will feel so much better. It's like a deflation, but a good deflation of a balloon. we
Yeah.
there's so many people out there right now that are keeping so much inside, and when it sits there, it will create a physical manifestation. It will create an outward reality that's going to be all chaotic. So whatever it is that you're trying to break free from, maybe you stole something, but you've never told anybody, and you're keeping it like, ugh. Find a neutral space, whether it's one of us or somebody else that another, I don't know, go to confession. I don't know, whatever you need to
Yep, you
do
could.
to get
Yeah.
that out. Because when you hold that in, go to a space of non-judgment. Because when you hold that in, that's another space of non-surrender. Because when you can release that, so much will change you. It's like you'll be able to just
Hmm.
sit back, and then you can hear intuition better, and things in life will start changing, whatever that is. So even getting those secrets out, I don't know why that came
Yeah.
up while you were
Well,
talking,
it's huge. And
but
in
it
AA,
is.
that's
It
what,
is.
but regardless of if you have an addiction or alcoholism, like AA was based on principles from the Indian mystery schools or the mystery schools in India. So like, don't get caught up on addiction things with what I'm about to say. But in AA, like the whole thing about, basically you ask one question: what have I been unloving to myself or to another? And that is your inventory of all the stuff you're in judgment of or feel you're being judged for that you need to mitigate. And then sharing the exact nature of your wrongs with another human being and God. That's like the fifth step. It is loosening the mortar that holds those bricks of blocking you from the divine together. And so, like, if you can just share it with anyone, because if you keep it in your head, you can lie to yourself again so easy. Like, it's not
Hmm.
really that bad, and you perpetuate it, and it's just like a pressure cooker that every once in a while lets the steam up. But once you share it, it's like taking the lid off, and
Yes.
now that pressure doesn't build up anymore. And because you have shared it, it has less power over you.
And you become
And
more
if you need
whole.
to, yeah, you become more
Yes.
whole. And
Hmm.
if you
Yes.
really, if you need to do it with a priest, or I've done a couple of fifth steps, but the biggest one, I went to an AA weekend. I'm like, I need to do a fifth step, and they just paired me with some random person, and I bared my soul, and it was like, holy crap. And with no judgment at all. And if you're in a community like that, whether it's AA or a priest or whatever the case is, you can find people that are going to listen to the the good, the bad, and the ugly, and just not not hold a judgment. And then once you come across to the other side, now the changes everything. And then the next part to that work would really be who was affected by that. If you wanted to take the whole program, the inner work program that AA is based on. It's you identify that, you share it, and then you say, who was wronged by that? Who do I have energy around that needs to be mitigated? And that's where you go into active and passive amends work. And that's where the transformation really happens. Because you go to someone and say, hey, Dr. K, I did this thing. I'm not happy I did it. It was wrong. I wouldn't choose it again. Is there anything I can do to make that right with you? And that's a humbling experience because, man, what if they tell you to do something absolutely crazy, you know? But now you've gone to the person and you have made that healings to start happening, and it's really magical if you can humble yourself to do it.
Actually, I had a friend like back in high school, and I remember he robbed me. Like he stole something from me, and then like I never heard from him again, never talked to him again. And then like 10 years later, I get like a random message from him on Facebook, and I was like, "What?" And he goes, "Hey, dude, like, hope everything's well. I'm in AA right now, and I just wanted to pay you back for the thing that I robbed you from." So he gave me $50, and then he also took me out to Dunkin' Donuts and coffee.
Wow, that's
You
awesome.
know, so
Yeah,
people can change.
Yeah, they absolutely
yeah.
can.
Yeah.
They can change, and that there's one person that I Spirit told me that, and this is from way long ago. They said if and when they're ready, they will come to you with this one thing, and that's just like, well, I'm not holding my breath for it, but I know that the relationship will be able to be rebuilt
Hmm.
if and when this one thing happens, and I'm like, I'll just wait, and if it doesn't happen, that's cool. They're not in my life now anyway, so. But it's a humbling thing. And how did it feel to receive that?
It was beautiful. I was like kind of shocked, and I was like, is this another setup or something? But it felt right. Maybe my egoic mind was like, yo, just be mindful, be wary, be cautious. But it was still really nice, and we caught up, and the conversation was great. So I haven't talked to him basically since then, but now I think I want to reach out to him after we're done with this. So no rush,
Yeah,
but just I'm
yeah.
gonna put that out there.
Well, I have a client at 11:15, so that will be done momentarily. So, like, last call for
Okay.
questions. That being the case, but and here's a huge comment: how to mitigate the energy for oneself, like self-loathing and like needing to forgive themselves, the victim mentality. Because on Instagram they wrote, because I can't put those comments up, I just can read it, but they wrote, as a survivor of human trafficking, I often feel I owe myself the biggest apology. Then I feel worse about even being a victim. And that is a hard thing because as a victim, life is happening to us instead of through us. And you give away our power as a co-creator. And I'm kind of led to go back to your affirmation you mentioned at the beginning. I trust that the unknown that the universe puts in front of me is for my best and highest good. I can speak for myself. I have a whole plethora of childhood trauma, like pick. Like there's all kinds of stuff that was going on. And it would have been very easy to, and maybe at one point I did think about being, I was just a victim, but it really has made me who I am today. The people who come to me for healings
Hmm.
oftentimes have had similar traumas. They come from addictions. And because I have done the hard work of looking at that, and I don't blame anyone, uh, it's like, it's made me who I am as a healer. And I find great medicine in my past. And so it's really hard when you have like a big T trauma like that to start that work. But like, what would it take to shift that happened for you instead of to you? And what are your guys' thoughts on victim mentality and following your unique voice and intuition?
Well, for me, the victim mentality, I've dealt with a lot of anxiety and depression, and thinking like, oh man, I don't know if I'm like really good enough to put myself out there to, forgive myself for all the wrong that I've done. And it's just like, what's like the next thing that I can do to make myself better? You know, like what's one thing that I can do? And, you know, I feel like a lot of things that we go through is just, it's not just, but in a lot of ways, it's so that we can help others that are going through the same thing, and share with them their experiences, and to let them know like it is possible to heal yourself from Crohn's disease. It is possible to heal yourself from lupus disease, like to to heal yourself from having a stroke, a seizure, or a drug overdose in the present moment within seconds, you know? Like there's all these infinite possibilities out there. It's just like what is it going to take for you to just believe in yourself for even just a few moments, and to build that momentum, and to really find yourself in a new energy, in a new frequency. Like like it sucks. It's so inhumane for what that person with the comment going through human trafficking. I can only imagine. Um, but like, what good can you do from it? You know, and like the energy of being of service to others is one of the most crazy blissed out states that I've ever experienced. There's been some other ones personally for myself, but like helping others, I mean, it's it's God's grace. It's love, it's compassion, and it's getting other people to get out of that other like victim mentality. Like, you know, we're all from Cleveland. You remember those three girls that got kidnapped by that one guy, Amanda Berry, and I can't remember the other
Yeah.
two, but you know, they're all doing amazing stuff now to like really help people who are going through that, you know, what they went through. So that's just one example. And I'm starting to help more people out with Crohn's, ulcers, colitis. I'm going to do a new program. I'll speak about that later. But yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of golden nuggets in there. Some people choose to stay in the victimhood, and I see it a lot. And it's sad for me because we get something from victimhood. We get attention, we get love, we get money, we get all sorts of things. But is it really serving you to stay there? Does it feel good? It's heavy. If you can flip that and say, okay, how can I use this to help others? And yes, there's a saying something that's just not coming to me, but the energy of helping somebody else and being of service expands your heart chakra so big. And when you have a larger heart chakra, your whole body can heal. And that's really the key. One of the ways to open your heart chakra is to be of service, whether you go to a homeless shelter and you feed, or you go donate some money, or you go donate your time. How do you feel inside? You feel amazing. Victimhood is very shrinking. Like, I gotta do this so I can get attention here, and I gotta do this, and it's not an expansive energy, and we are here as souls to expand. So yeah, I that's so wonderful. And I send lots of love to whoever commented on that. That is not easy. That is not an easy thing. But if you can slowly find that believability bridge and flip that around and start helping other people, you will heal so fast. I tell all my clients, healing can happen instantaneously. It can happen instantaneously. It's how much resistance and crap do you have? How much debris do you have? How thick are your walls to not be able to surrender and say, okay, I'm going to let this happen. That's the only thing that's standing between you and what you want. I always give this analogy to clients. Like, if you took swimming lessons and you were at the end of the diving board, remember at some point you graduated and or even at the beginning, you had to jump in the water, right? And the teacher's like, come on, everybody's in. But you're like, I don't know, I'm not going to go down there. At some point, and that's all that it takes, is jumping over. It's just taking that plunge. There's nothing we can do to help you do that. You have to take that plunge and jump in. Or not, or you sit on the sidelines. So really looking at the victimhood, to whoever is out there listening, and is it really helping you, or do you want something bigger and greater that's much greater than what you think might be happening from the victimhood? And this is a very big conversation. It's not just limited to this, but yeah, if you can, we have karma, and sometimes we have to walk through certain doors. However, you can make that much faster and much shorter, and you can heal from all of that very quickly if you allow yourself to. So flip it. See if you can start walking on that believability bridge. I can't even say it.
I love that word again. The believability bridge. It's so good. And like I said, last call for comments and things. And the person who had made the comment about human trafficking, she says thank you, and that she's from Dayton. And bigger, thank you for all the gems. And sometimes it takes a while. It doesn't have to. It's just like when you empower the past instead of the moment, that's when it takes a while. If you can be in the moment and choose now, what could you be and do today to help someone else, to to be the
Mm-hmm.
victor and not the victim, that's when it shifts. But if you're empowering the past, it's like fragmenting your being, and instead of in the moment, which there is only the moment, there's nowhere else to be. But with that illusion, empowering the past and having a beef with God maybe, or the universe, that this happened. Like I think that was a big thing for that I had to heal from too, is like the idea that if with the current constructs of God and things, like having a beef with the divine, it's like you're cutting off so much of creation and trying to, it's like ego is run riot, edging God out. And we get worn down until we invite that back in, that divinity back in, and then things start flowing again. It's like, well, if there is a beef with the divine,
Mm-hmm.
like what would it take to have that believability bridge be healed as well, or whatever you want to call it, source, divine, God, and all that. But you mentioned a program, so like last couple minutes, I had in the comments, I did put down Alexander's website, uh, and you mentioned you have a program. So what does everybody have going on? Because I have a client in less than 10 minutes, so I'll have to log
Okay.
off.
Yeah, so I'm gonna be starting like a docu-series on YouTube about how I healed myself from Crohn's disease, and then I'm also gonna put out there like a free program and or donation based for anyone who's going through like ulcers, colitis, Crohn's, IBS, any kind of like gut issues at all, and I'm just gonna do my best to absolutely help them with everything that I know, and to give them the pointers and the healing and the direction to really make a change in their life.
And what's your website? I don't think Instagram has the description for the video. What's your website for people
Oh,
watching on
it's
Instagram?
yeah, it's www.thefoxwellness.com.
Thefoxwellness.com. And Dr. K, do you have anything coming up?
I just just ended up signing up for a program. I'm actually working more. I had a program, the Phoenix Rising, which is helping men that are going through divorce or really through any challenging times, because
Mm,
that is not easy. And I'm finding there's just not a lot of support with guys, and I'm good at that. For some reason, I've been gifted with that. I'm good at that. So really helping the guys across, rebuilding, gaining that stability, walking through that so you can come out on the other side even bigger and better, and helping to calm down everything that's going on. But that just ended June 8th. So we've got a few signups. We'll be working on that. So to come for other
Okay.
stuff.
Cool. And then
beautiful.
the link for Dr. K is in the video description. And for me, we got the solstice coming up on Thursday. I think I'm doing a despacho here at the center. And tomorrow, if you're local, come out to Aligned Health Center, because we're having an open house for the 10-year anniversary of Aligned Health
Sweet.
Center. So I will be here from 12 to 7-ish, maybe a little bit. I have also like a memorial service to attend, so I might cut out early. But tomorrow from 12 to 7, I'll be here just offering little sound samplings and connecting with people. So if that feels light, come on out. And you can find the address on my website. It's in the video description, hanksettle.com. Cool. Awesome. Awesome. This has
Fantastic.
been
Thank you.
great. What a fun experience. I have enjoyed it. Enjoyed it a lot. Until next time, everyone, we'll catch you later. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you, guys.